What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Mo, and today we'll react to a video called "How Good Was Michael Jordan Actually?" And this is the biggest conspiracy theory out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really a big fan of Michael Jordan. I'm a big fan of LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe. Who else I'm gonna throw in there? It gotta be Ben Wallace. I ain't even gonna lie. Zion Williams. It's just what it is, bro. This is my favorite caliber players. You know what I'm saying? No further ado, we just gonna get into the video. Let's get it, baby.
Jordan scored 50 points or more in the playoffs 8 times, more than Kobe, KD, LeBron, and Wilt combined. Jordan also had the most 40-point playoff games, more than Kareem, AI, Steph, and D-Wade put together. In fact, MJ is the only player in NBA history who had more 40-point career games than games where he scored less than 20 points. Jordan's godlike aura, brutal trash talk, and physical dominance put fear in opponents' hearts. And while they had to get a good night's sleep before facing the Bulls, Jordan could drink and smoke cigars before the game and still drop 40. His airness made it look easy, and he proved it when the games were on the line.
Game on the line.
I know this sound crazy,
Who would take the last?
but I feel like the only reason Michael Jordan was really dropping that many crazy ass numbers is because of the era he was in. Like during the 90s and 80s, bro, like it wasn't a lot of niggas that was good like now. Like, you know how if LeBron go against the Denver Nuggets or something, it'd be like a good ass shooting guard, a good ass power forward. You don't got niggas like Nikola Jokic in the mix. You don't got niggas like Zion Williams on every single team. Back then, it was just crazy. Like, you would, like, it's even some teams to where they wouldn't even have a best player. Everybody was just, you mean, but yeah, like, let's just.
Me.
28 times Jordan scored the game-winning shot, including 7 game winners in the playoffs. And MJ wasn't just a scorer. He had the most first-team all-defense selections ever with 9. He's the all-time blocks leader by a guard and has the most seasons with over 200 steals, with 6. In 1989, when the Bulls lost their starting point guard, Coach Doug Collins made Jordan play the point, and he notched 10 triple-doubles in 11 games, averaging 30 points, 11 assists, and 9.5 rebounds per game. Between 1991 and 1996, MJ played 13 consecutive playoff series where he averaged more than 30 points per game, retiring with 6 rings, 5 MVPs, and a 6-0 record in the final. But despite his seemingly invincible legacy, Jordan did have some weaknesses. MJ led the NBA in field goal attempts 9 times during his 13 years in Chicago, and he was a bit of a ball hog, especially in his early career. Jordan also had some bad playoff games, and he certainly wasn't the most pleasant teammate. So, how good was Michael Jordan actually? And is he really the GOAT? To answer that, we'll start with his genetics and God-given talent. Michael Jordan was supposed to be short. Nobody in his family was taller than 5'9", and as a high school sophomore, Michael was famously cut from his varsity basketball team because he was only 5'11".
It sounds sad, but it's true.
However, the Jordans were blessed with supreme athleticism. Just look at Michael's older brother Larry, who could dunk at 5'8". So when an unexpected growth spurt pushed Michael to 6'6", he became unstoppable. By the end of his high school career, Jordan was averaging 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. But despite his unreal speed and athleticism, young MJ was still an unpolished gem because he really only played 2 years of high school basketball. As a freshman at UNC, MJ averaged a modest 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He was the 3rd leading scorer on the team behind James Worthy and Sam Perkins, and his fundamentals, ball handling, and confidence weren't yet at a super high level. But all that changed in the 1982 NCAA Finals, when Michael hit a game-winning shot against Patrick Ewing, winning the national championship.
18. Shot. Jordan. North Carolina has won the 1982 NCAA championship.
Jordan said this was the biggest turning point of his career, because after that, his confidence was through the roof.
That turned my name from Mike to Michael Jordan. It gave me the confidence that I needed to start to excel at the game of basketball.
In the next 2 seasons, Jordan continued his basketball education under Dean Smith and became a complete player. He averaged 20 points per game, was a consensus first-team All-American, and as a junior in 1984, he was named Collegiate Player of the Year. But based on his college career alone, it was hard to predict that Jordan would reach the pinnacle of the NBA. After all, many great players who came before Michael had far better college careers, including Kareem, Magic, Bird, Bill Walton, Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, David Thompson, Pete Maravich, and a few others. Because of his relatively modest numbers in college, and because the 80s were the era of the big men, Jordan was selected third in the 1984 NBA draft, behind centers Hakeem Olajuwon and Sam Bowie.
He's only 6'6".
I mean, at the same time, he did.
So how much can he really do?
Just like the whole situation with Wilt Chamberlain and Lonzo game.
However, it took just 2 practices for the Bulls coach to call the general manager and say, "You didn't mess up the draft this time."
From the first day in practice, my mentality was, whoever is the team leader on that team, going after him.
I don't think so. That's
and I'm not going to do it with my voice because I had no voice. I have to do it with the way that I play.
When the season started, it took Jordan only 3 games to score over 30 and 9 games to eclipse 40. By the end of the first month, it was obvious that Jordan was supposed to be the first overall pick. While Olajuwon looked like a star, Jordan was more like a supernova because there was nobody in the league faster than him. It seemed almost unfair how he blew past opponents with just a single step who had no answer for his drives to the basket. On top of his speed, Jordan was also the most athletic player in the NBA, with an unmatched vertical jump and hang time. When he drove to the cup, it looked like he was a fighter jet, and his quickness served as a runway for his vertical takeoff. When MJ raised up for a jump shot, it seemed like nobody was ever guarding him, because the laws of gravity didn't seem to apply to Michael. Defenders could jump at the same time, but as they would inevitably fall down, Jordan would continue to float in the air and shoot completely unbothered.
How's the transition been from college to the NBA?
Well, I think it's been pretty easy.
Thanks to his high-flying feats and insane dunks, Jordan quickly became the most popular player in the NBA. So it only made sense that in 1986, he got voted to the All-Star game, despite playing just 3 games up to that point due to an ankle injury. And that same year, in the playoffs, he set a playoff scoring record with 63 points against Boston.
But it was an incredible playoff performance. I've never seen it before, and I had never seen it after. That wasn't Michael Jordan out there. It was God disguised as Michael Jordan.
As if MJ wasn't doing enough already, in 1987, MJ led the NBA in scoring with 37 points per game, which was and remains the 5th best scoring output ever, behind only Wilt's insane scoring feats of the early 1960s.
I just want the franchise and Chicago Bulls to be respected as a team. It's very hard for something like that to happen, but it's not impossible.
Meanwhile, Jordan was miserable. Despite all the fame and individual accolades, he was always losing. In his first 3 seasons, MJ only won 1 playoff game, despite being the best player in the league. But after the Bulls GM Jerry Krause drafted Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen, his life would change forever. In 1988, MJ averaged 35 points on 54% shooting, with 6 rebounds and 6 assists, winning his first career MVP. Because he also led the NBA in steals with 3.2 plus 1.6 blocks per game, Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year. And he is still one of only 5 players ever to win Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. And after the 1988 dunk contest against Dominique Wilkins, which is considered by many to be the best of all time, some people already started calling him the best player they have ever seen.
That's got to be a 50.
But none of that mattered, because the most important thing to Jordan was winning. And now with Pippen and Grant on the team, the Bulls had their first 50-win season since 1974. Chicago then finally advanced in the playoffs, winning the first round over the Cavaliers, with MJ averaging an insane 45 points per game. However, in the second round, a more experienced Pistons team defeated the Bulls pretty easily, 4-1. It was proof that individual greatness doesn't translate to playoff wins, a lesson Jordan had yet to learn. But that didn't make him any less entertaining to watch. In the 1989 season, Jordan hit his first legendary shot in the NBA, simply known as the shot.
A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! Set the Cleveland Cavaliers!
In the second round, the Bulls got past the Knicks, but they again fell victim to the Pistons, who bullied Jordan with their physicality. And in 1990, it was more of the same. MJ led the NBA in scoring and steals. He was super efficient, but the team couldn't get over the hump and get past the Detroit Pistons for a third consecutive year. In his first 6 years in the league, MJ had won 5 playoff series and lost 6, with an overall playoff record of 25 wins and 29 losses. So after that third loss to the Pistons, the media started doubting Jordan, questioning his ability to play team basketball, and wondering if he was only concerned about himself and his numbers. And in a way, they were right. In the 80s, he was often trying to score out of double or even triple teams, ignoring his wide-open teammates. In 1989, he was a capable passer, averaging a career-high 8 dimes per game, but Jordan always looked to score first and pass second. And he wasn't like Magic, Jokic, or Doncic, who manipulate defenses with their eyes and fake defenders into wrong coverages. Jordan's passing was more reactive. He got rid of the ball only when he saw that somebody was wide open. And since Jordan was like a black hole that sucked all the defensive attention, when he did opt to pass, it was usually for an easy dunk. But despite MJ's ridiculous scoring numbers, the Bulls' offense was always average during the 80s, and they were actually at their best in 1986, when Mike missed 80% of the season due to an ankle injury. It wasn't until 1990, the arrival of Phil Jackson and the emergence of Scottie Pippen, that the Bulls' offense cracked the top 5 in the NBA. Pippen's passing and pushing the ball in the open court created lots of space for Jordan, who could finally trust someone else to make plays for him consistently. But Pippen's value was maybe even more pronounced on the defensive end. With an enormous wingspan, agility, and a motor to cover multiple players on one possession, Scottie was just what Michael was missing. Pip's presence allowed Michael to play free safety on defense, jump into passing lanes for steals, and he didn't need to waste his energy guarding the best opposing player, because Scottie usually did that. And after agonizing defeats against the Pistons, MJ decided to bulk up, which was unprecedented at the time. Players didn't spend much time in the gym, and if you look at all the players in the 80s, they looked lean, but hardly anyone was super muscular. So when MJ returned for the 1991 season, he was still super quick, athletic, and could contort his body in the air like no one else. But this time around, he was also much stronger, which allowed him to absorb contact better and bully smaller players with his size. What also helped Michael was the arrival of coaches Phil Jackson and Tex Winter, who instituted the triangle offense, which was based on cutting in open spaces and playmaking out of the post. If executed properly, the triangle was believed to be the most optimal offense to optimize spacing. MJ didn't have to bring up the ball all the time and force his shots, and he was receiving the ball closer to the basket, where he'd bully smaller defenders and dominate like never before. Even though Jordan was phenomenal from the moment he stepped into the NBA, in 1991, he was at his best, and he won his second MVP award. The 91 Bulls had the best offense in the NBA, and they crushed the opposition in the Eastern Conference. They swept the Knicks, beat the 76ers in 5, and then finally got their revenge against the Pistons. This time, it wasn't even close, as Detroit was on the decline after 3 straight NBA Finals trips, while the Bulls were ascending. MJ swept Isaiah and the Pistons, who famously left before the final buzzer of Game 4, refusing to shake the Bulls' hands.
We finally got over the hump of losers' mentality. We were starting to become a winning franchise. And, the sky was the limit.
But in the NBA Finals, another legend awaited, Magic Johnson. And it seemed like the 5-time NBA champion still had the upper hand when the Lakers defeated the Bulls at home in Game 1. That is, until Phil Jackson made the adjustment to have Pippen guard Magic, which turned the series around. And in Game 2, Jordan dazzled the world with another iconic move, switching hands mid-air to score an acrobatic layup. The Bulls won the next 4 games, and at last, the championship. Jordan's hunger for an NBA ring was finally satisfied. Throughout the playoffs, MJ averaged 31 points, 8.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks, shooting a career-high 56% from the field.
Jordan is the most talented player in the NBA, by far.
And the 1992 season was a continuation of peak form for Jordan and the Bulls. Another scoring title with super efficient shooting, first-team All-Defense, and another MVP for his airness. The Bulls once again had the best offense in the NBA and won a franchise record 67 games. Chicago reached the finals against the Trailblazers, and the media pushed the narrative that Clyde Drexler was better than Jordan, because Jordan is not a good outside shooter. So MJ responded by nailing 6 threes and 35 points in the first half of Game 1, which was a finals record for both threes and points and a half, in what will forever be remembered as the Shrug Game. And even though
this is all I'm going to be watching for right now, because I don't have enough space in my phone and all that to be recording like 25, 30-minute videos and all that. I'm probably gonna make a part 2 for y'all, or I'm gonna just record another video. We out. We Pippen.